is your title, Jonathan? You've got a new title here in Muskegon.
I do. Thanks for having me on the show, Andy. I'm the executive director for Downtown Muskegon now, and that's the downtown organization responsible for business development, placemaking, and things of that nature. So anything, events, stuff like that that go on in the downtown area, a lot of times we're going to have some type of a role in.
I see.
Yeah.
So are you? What was your role prior? It was more of a business development.
Yeah, it was strictly business development, and that was with Muskegon Area First, which is a support organization of downtown Muskegon now. We're technically an independent organization, but because we're so small, we get support from the Chamber of Commerce, Muskegon Area First, the Community Foundation, and the city. But my previous role with Muskegon Area First was business development related to the blue water economy here in West Michigan. So port, water, wastewater, things of that nature, really looking at our unique industrial assets and using that for development purposes.
Okay. Now, so why the change? What's your interest in downtown?
Well, when you're working with businesses and you're trying to attract them to community, one of the things they ask about is a community attribution. One of those most common questions is, what's your downtown like?
Right.
And the opportunity presented itself when Andrew Hahn, who was the old director, got a job with the state. And downtown Muskegon now really started to look at what they wanted in their new director. Did they want more placemaking, historic preservation, or was it more of a business development point of view that they wanted? And they decided with the latter. And since I had that business development experience, it was sort of a good fit for me.
Okay.
I also had the advantage of, after Andrew left, I got to do some of the director duties on an interim basis as needed. So I kind of knew what I was getting myself into when I went and applied for this position.
Right.
But it's really a chance to make an impact in a community that my family's been in for several generations now, and it's, I love Muskegon. It's a really cool, unique community to be in. And our downtown, it's not just a downtown for the folks who live down there and the businesses, but it's a downtown for the whole greater community. It's our shared downtown, whether you live in Laketon Township or North Muskegon, Fruitport or Norton Shores. It's everyone's downtown, and I really wanted to help kind of shape that and be able to to look back in 20 years and say, I had an impact in that. So.
And you moved away for a year or two.
I did.
To Wyoming, was it?
It was. Good memory.
So why'd you leave? Why'd you come back? Just real quickly, I guess.
Well, I went to school in Michigan. I went to CMU. I grew up here in Muskegon County, and I never really, other than a couple of years in Lansing, really left the West Michigan area, and I wanted some different experiences. I had an opportunity to go work at a community college in Cheyenne, and it was a great experience. It's a totally different environment than what we have here in West Michigan, and I really liked it. But I missed the water. I missed a lot of the stuff that we have here in Muskegon. I miss local restaurants. That's one of the things when I lived out west that was really interesting to me was almost everything was chain restaurants. And then when you come here, we do have the chain restaurants when you're down by the mall and things like that, and they're all great. But we have a lot of local restaurants, and you can really go and get some different experiences at a variety of different restaurants. And that's, it sounds like a small thing, but it's actually really cool. And it's something that I tell people when they're looking at coming here, they want to visit here. So, what's one of the great things? Well, I'm like, and most people know about the beaches and the state parks and the water and things like that. But did you know you can do, Me and Grace, there's, really good Asian options. There's great bistros and things of that nature. So you have all these different options for foodies.
Yeah. I was at Me and Grace this weekend and the Indian Buffet.
Oh yeah, Curry Kitchen. It's a great downtown restaurant.
Oh.
Beautiful spot for lunch if you're looking for a buffet. Very affordable. So.
You usually take a nap after that.
Yeah, you do have to do that. You do have to do that.
So, is there anything you learned when you were away that maybe you're bringing to Muskegon?
I think.
I mean, you mentioned something you were missing when you left, but anything that you found attractive, I guess.
Well, one of the cool things about Cheyenne is it's only, it's a great town. It's got a really nice, really old downtown with a lot of really cool buildings, and they've got some of the same struggles that we have. They had a regional mall come in, and some of their economy for the shopping and stuff moved out onto a road called Del Range, where all the shopping is. and they're starting to go through that rebirth and kind of seeing what they were doing. But Cheyenne's only 45 minutes away from Fort Collins, which is where the Colorado State is, and there's a lot of breweries. And downtown Fort Collins is really cool, and it's walkable. There's a lot of local shops. You do have some bigger, not necessarily big box stores, but like Ace Hardware and things of that nature that are downtown as well. And it's a really cool mix of national presence, local presence, and obviously a lot of breweries in Fort Collins as well. So when I kind of look at what we could do, I take inspiration from where I've traveled and seeing how successful other communities can be, and also drawing on where Holland is now, just 45 minutes to our south. And 20 years ago, downtown Holland isn't what it is today, and they've made a lot of strategic moves to get to where they are now. And that's what Muskegon's doing now. 20 years ago, we were focusing on water quality and cleaning that up, and some of our other stuff kind of took a back seat. Now we're to a point where we can make those investments in our downtown, in our shared spaces, and really get to a point where we have the economic tools to develop a community that people want to hang out in the downtown area. You go shopping, go out to dinner, get a drink, go see the symphony, go to a hockey game, something like that. We have all these great tools that a lot of other communities don't have.
Sure.
We just need to find a way to really stitch those together and show that you can have a really great time and spend some quality time all within a couple of blocks of each other. Park your car, walk around, get some exercise, burn off that dinner that you're going to go have with your significant other, and then go see a show or something.
Sure. And there are a lot of neat things in Muskegon, cultural events, institutions, museums, and whatnot. But some worry about downtown is that they're here, but in between those, there's like these barren lands that used to be covered by
the mall.
Yes. Is there a plan to cover those lands, or to put
we're not going to
buildings?
We're not going to put another roof on it.
Good.
So, there are some plans in place. Really, what we're doing is we're being more strategic with things. The county just agreed to purchase 2 lots on either side of the transit center.
Okay.
So that transit center is going to be growing. So we're going to be filling in some of that space there on Morris between 2nd and 1st. We're working with a potential developer on another lot at the corner of 2nd and Western, kind of across from the old Mac building next to SIDOC, where MLive is now downtown. So hopefully we can get something going there. And then really, once that happens, we really only have 2 empty lots on Western between on the old mall property at that point. There is the Baker Culinary Institute has a parking lot down there on Terrace and Western. Farmers Market's going in across the street from that, so farmers market goers can use that parking lot. And John Rooks is still moving forward with his development in the old Hackley Bank building, which is the tall white 8-story building downtown. And
has he started working on that?
They've started doing some preliminary stuff. There's still some I's that need to be dotted and T's that need to be crossed before they can really start doing the heavy kind of renovation to that building. The project's changed a little bit. It was initially going to be condos. Because of banking and financing issues, condos aren't as bankable as they were before. Banks really want to see, I think it's 80% of a condo project being sold before they'll start to finance. Well,
it's kind of hard when it's
kind of hard. So
an empty building.
They're changing that over to apartments. That kind of changes some of the equations regarding elevators, accessibility, things like that.
I see.
And you have to be able to meet some different codes.
Are these planning to be market rate?
These will be market rate, and that's a really important thing for downtown. We currently in the actual downtown service area have less than 50 market rate apartments. And we have hundreds of apartments downtown, but the vast majority are income-based, which is important. We definitely need to make sure that people can afford to live in the downtown, but you need a good mix. And until we get that good mix, it's going to be hard to attract some businesses. And that's one of the questions that we get a lot of times in economic development is, well, what's first? Is it the people or is it the stuff to do? And it really has to go hand in hand. You have to find these mixed uses, which what we're looking to do on that lot at the corner of 2nd and Western, which I was talking about a minute ago, would be a mixed-use building. First floor would be, retail, commercial. second floor, maybe some office space, and then the upper floors would be market rate apartments as well. So really giving, that good mix down there. And, that would be a great spot to live. You're across the street from a brewery, coffee shops right there, 2 coffee shops, one on either side.
Right.
There are a number of restaurants that you can walk to and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So it is kind of moving forward with that mixed use. And that's something the state wants to see too,
Sure,
and opens
sure.
up some doors to partnerships at the state level with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, the MEDC. They really want to see those mixed use facilities if it's a new building.
Right. I guess that's kind of going old-fashioned. I mean, lots of downtowns had the 2-story buildings that retail on the first floor, and then people lived upstairs, and then that kind of died down. People weren't living upstairs anymore, but now we're back to that.
It's back to the future. It's exactly what it is. And that's really when downtowns did thrive a lot, when you had people who were living down there and they would walk. And what we're seeing now is people who are under 40 crowd, they don't have kids yet,
Right.
or some maybe under 30 in that case, but they want to live in a spot where they can walk and do things.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have the empty nesters, and they want that same thing where they don't necessarily need as much space, they don't need the yard anymore.
Right.
They're looking for something different to do.
Yeah, that's what my parents did. When they first got married, they lived above a store and a couple of years and loved it.
Yeah.
Is downtown, some people feel downtown is unsafe. Do you think that's a bad perception? Is it a reality? Is it something we need to work on?
I think it's an inaccurate perception. Certainly there's always work that can be done, and nothing's perfect. But I've worked downtown, with the exception of that year, a little more than a year that I lived out west. I've worked downtown since 2006. So I've never had a problem, and I've always felt safe. Granted, I'm a guy, so sometimes that has an impact on it as well. Sure. But I've never really noticed anything downtown that would make me feel unsafe or not want me to bring my nephews down here or something
Sure.
like that. There have been incidences that have been near to the downtown, but not in the downtown area. And I would have to say 2 things. One, any community that you live in that's of any size, you need to be cognizant of your surroundings.
Sure.
And any downtown in any community is going to have different things going on that you need to be aware of. And it just really comes down to being diligent about things. But I've got a lot of friends who live between downtown and Laketon Avenue, and they love it. They're raising families there. It's a great place to do that. They have there's a lot of walkability, there's accessibility, there's affordability. So, it is a great option if you're looking at living somewhere, but also, there's just all these great places that you can go to and hang out. And the more people who come down and discover that, the better options there'll be for things to be downtown and stuff of that nature. And
Sure.
It's just sort of a transitional thing. But.
Right. Speaking of walkability, I'm wondering if it is walkable downtown. There's been some advancements in terms of the sidewalks, in terms of walking across the streets easier and whatnot. But you can't. It's really hard to walk from downtown to any water. Are we still working on that, or have we just kind of decided, that's not going to happen?
We actually had that conversation. I've had that conversation twice this week.
Okay.
One with, we're looking at doing some zoning changes with the city, going to more form-based code. We talked about walkability and what the traffic patterns were. And then yesterday I was meeting with someone from the state, and we were talking about walkability. There have been some changes that have occurred, specifically at 3rd Street when you're crossing Shoreline Drive going towards the lake house and the Shoreline Inn. The timing of those lights have been changed, and they've made sure that that island that's there, that if you're walking more slowly, you can get to that island between the 2 changes, if need be. So that has been worked on. Also, the same thing at 7th Street, which is where the Eagles is, where you would cross to go into Heritage Landing. The timing there has been worked on as well.
Okay.
So it's kind of an interesting problem. Shoreline Drive is called Shoreline Drive because I used to be the shoreline.
Yeah.
And so downtown was right on the shoreline. And also, historically our downtown was on Pine Street, and that ran right into the lake. But then there was the Pine Street fire, in the late 1800s, and then downtown had to move to the western corridor. And so it wasn't really on the downtown. We had more industry there. And as we're making that transition, we are looking at ways to make sure that we have water accessibility to the general public, be that at Heritage Landing or if it's at Harbor 31, previously Edison Landing, where Parmenter O'Toole is in Grand Valley's Alternative Energy Research Center, that that there is options for people to get there to walk on the water, just go and sit, fish, whatever. So we are making sure that that is part of
any
the
discussion of like a little beach there or anything for people to hang out and swim and whatnot.
Not necessarily a beach that I've really heard of, but I'm not sure how many people would want to be swimming in that area, because that is more of the commercial area.
Yeah.
And you do have ships coming in and out and things like that. The city's master plan for the Muskegon part of Muskegon Lake is basically from downtown or Mart Dock, where the LST is, and the Port City Princess, to the east towards the Cobb plant is industrial.
Okay.
Port industrial, things of that nature that require port access.
So do you see that as an issue, though, by having that industrial, and then your downtown's right next to the industrial area? A lot of downtowns are next to the more recreational areas, and they kind of work together.
It really has to do with where the residential component is, and so when you start getting into Lakeside and Bluffton and Beechwood, you want to make sure those are the areas where folks are already living a lot and having access to the water in those areas and opening that up. And then it also has to do with just where that privately held property is on Muskegon Lake, which, with the exception of Heritage Landing and Fisherman's Landing, everything else along Muskegon Lake is privately owned.
Right.
And that's expensive real estate. And so would it be the best use of tax dollars to go in and buy up those properties and have and just to get that type of an access, like all access along that? Probably not. And especially when you're looking at the economic drivers for it, that those parcels of land with having the railroad access, close access to 31, and the water access, all those intermodal things together make it very attractive for business development, which will then create hopefully good paying jobs,
taxes, all that.
Yeah. So it's sort of it's not just we're going to do this here and this here. There have been discussions, and being part of those discussions, sometimes it really is amazing how much thought actually goes into it. Yeah. And sometimes not you specifically here, an individual will be like, well, they just threw out this plan, they didn't really think about it. Now, there's actually a lot of thought that goes into stuff like this. And and we do have the bike path that goes along the lake. It starts in North Muskegon, goes all the way, you can go out to Pure Marquette. A good chunk of that is right along the water. So there is water access. Sometimes you do have to go look for it, but it's it is there.
Okay. Now, downtown, couple of things. One is there a lot of space open for people if you want to open a business? Look downtown. Or do we need to build more?
We do need to build more. We're getting to that point where we're running out of the available space, but we do have options for people depending on what they're looking for, particularly if it's a smaller size. But we're also getting to that point where we do need to start looking at building new space that can maybe be a little bit more flexible for new retailers. So it just really depends on what you're looking for. They can always, a potential downtown business can always reach out to my office, and I can help them kind of figure out, what they're looking for size-wise, what our options are, and then, if there is an options, we are in contact with developers who are looking at doing things, and we can make those connections as well to see if what somebody wants to do would be a good fit for a project that's in the pike.
Okay, good. I want to talk about some of the new businesses downtown, but before we get there, are you, one thing that's often talked about, be nice to have downtown, and I went through this when I lived in Detroit, that didn't have it at the time, which is a grocery.
Yeah.
Is that something you're working on? Is it something that's a few years down the road, or?
It's on the wish list. We do have a downtown wish list of businesses we would like to see, and a downtown grocery is one of them. There have been people who have come and talked to me about what the options would be, where they could go, logistics, things of that nature. So it is something that's on the radar, but it's not something, my organization can't go out and start we don't have the capital to go start a business. And it's not something that the government can do either. It's something that an entrepreneur has to see value in doing. Now, with that being said, we do go out and talk to entrepreneurs that have done things like this in the past and say, hey, you made a go of it here and you were successful.
Right.
Would you consider coming here? And so that is something that's on the horizon. Is it 3 years out, 5 years out? That I don't know, but it is something that is being talked about because it is needed. If you're living down there, you have to go for a full-on grocery store. The two closest options, I believe, are Plums in North Muskegon and Plums on Sherman. And then you've got the Myers that are further out from that. So you do have to make a little bit of a drive. There are some, you can get a lot of great stuff at the Cheese Lady,
right?
And there are different options that you can get different stuff at, Benson Drugs and things of that nature. But as far as having a one-stop that you can get a bunch of different things at, that is an option. There's also a great Asian grocery store on 3rd Street.
Sure.
So,
no, it does a good job there.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of these new businesses.
Okay.
Maybe those will spawn the next grocery and encourage people to live downtown. We've got one brewery open, one coming.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit. I mean, these both been kind of long time coming things.
They have been.
And Unruly Brewery just opened, right?
Unruly just did open. They officially, first open date to the public was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, so they're a couple weeks in. This week they just expanded their hours, so they're now open Wednesday through Sunday.
Oh, good.
And Wednesday and Thursday, I believe it's 5 to 10. Friday is 3 to 10. Saturday's 3 to 10, and then Sunday I think is noon to 5 or something like that. So they do have hours for 5 days a week, which is great. And so you can go in and experience those. And it's a really cool brewery, and it's partnered. There's some other stuff that's going on in there. Drip Drop Drink Coffee's in there as well. Great coffee. And the West Michigan Symphony's in there as well, and their ticket office is on the 1st floor. Okay. So you have all three of those pretty much in a shared space. And you said they were a long time coming, and I think what that's testament to is that both the team at Unruly and the team at Pigeon Hill are doing things right. They're not rushing through and making big hubbub. They're actually really working to make sure that what they're doing is going to be quality and that people are going to want to hang out there. And I've been to Unruly a couple of times. It's actually really nice because it's next to my office.
Right.
Could be a bad thing, I'm not sure. But it seems to be very well received, and there's a lot of excitement about it. And one of the really cool things, one of the nights they were open, there was a show at the Frohenthal, there was a hockey game going on, and you had all these people walking between those different events, coming to the brewery, going to the hockey game, going to the symphony.
Right.
So it just shows that we can have that activity downtown. People were parking on the street and walking around. It was awesome. So I think once Pigeon Hill opens up, and I'm not sure exactly what their timeline is now, sometime
next year?
Sometime after the first year. I think it'll probably be in the first quarter. And that'll be 2 blocks down from Unruly, so you'll get even more people walking between the two. It's been shown time and again that breweries are destinations. You look at Shorts up in Bel Air, that's north of Traverse City. People travel up there. I mean, obviously that's a tourism area anyways, but people go to Bel Air to go to Shorts. Right. And you have breweries throughout the UP that are kind of scattered that people travel to go look at. Out west, it's a big thing that is a tourism draw. Right. So you will see people who will come to Muskegon,
have their map out,
and you can start on the lake shore. You can start down in Saugatuck Brewing Company, come up through Holland, Grand Haven, Muskegon. We're going to have one opening up in Whitehall, and then you can make your way up north into Ludington. So you have within an hour and a half, 2 hours, you're going to have more than a half dozen breweries that you can go check out.
That's nice.
So it'll be a nice little day trip.
Sure. Well, that's neat. And I got a couple more questions. We're getting near the end here. First question is, MCC, my employer, is moving downtown. We had the successful millage. Where do you see MCC fitting into the downtown scene?
Physically or as an overall component?
Physically and then overall.
Physically, I'd like to see them a block or so off of Western, so that way the students can take advantage of everything that's on Western Avenue, preferably somewhere between Terrace and 7th Street, somewhere in that area, and mainly because that's where a lot of the businesses are, so it'll let students
Not
take
on
advantage.
Western because you need more of the retail
yeah,
space.
Western
there.
you really need more of the retail space, and not that it wouldn't be great to have an MCC storefront there, but I think that MCC could take advantage of some other spaces that are down there that are very close to it that would be visible, but leaving the Western corridor for more type of businesses.
Yeah.
And I was a big proponent of bringing MCC downtown and of this millage. I am a property owner, so my taxes are going up, but I'm very happy with
Very
that.
little.
Very little. But I think it'll be a great asset to downtown. When you look at a lot of communities that have had successful rebirths of their downtown, Grand Rapids, just down the street here, just down the highway here, you can go look at when Grand Valley made the decision to move down there, and obviously that's going to be a bigger footprint than what MCC is looking at, but that really was one of the catalysts that helped move Grand Rapids forward. And if you ask our downtown folks, they'll tell you that. And then they continued to make those investments over time, and you started to see some different things happen. So I think that'll help be an anchor institution in downtown, along with Baker's Culinary Institute and Frontier Communications, and then all the different employers that we have down there, county, city, things of that nature.
Do you think MCC should take over an existing building or build new?
My preference would be for them to take over an existing building and renovate it and get it back into use. But that really depends on what the
ideal. Which place?
If I had my pick and I could put them anywhere, it'd be the old Chronicle building.
Okay.
Corner of 3rd and Clay, across from Hackley Park. It has great bones. It's beautiful from the outside. It looks like it would be a good fit for an academic institution. It's got a lot of varieties of different spaces that you could use. There's a backspace that has really high ceilings.
How big is that building?
Oh man, you got to ask me that.
That's all right.
I can't think off the top of my head. I do. There's a lot of buildings downtown. I've got all their info sheets on my desk. So if I'm at my desk and someone calls, I can act like I know it. The sheets are right there, but I didn't bring my cheat sheets. That's okay.
But that would be a great building. I agree. If the price is right.
If the price is right, exactly.
Last question, festivals. We've seen festivals come and go. What part of downtown, what part do festivals play in downtown going forward?
Well, I think for downtown, there's there's a number of festivals that happen downtown. I was going to say there's like 4 major ones, but then I don't want to single anyone out. But my organization hosts Taste of Muskegon and coordinates that every year. But so that one's obviously I know a lot about that one, and that one I think has an important role. But it brings people downtown who might not necessarily come down there on a regular basis. And as we get more businesses, restaurants, things of that nature downtown, it showcases those. So when folks come in for bike time and they see, we've got a brewery open now, they can start, maybe they'll come back for that when it's a non-festival weekend. When the Lakeshore Art Festival happens, the same thing. You're going to get a different subset of people coming in. So it really exposes us to a broad base of folks that we might not necessarily have coming downtown. Whether they're from Muskegon County or they're from a neighboring community, it's going to have them come down for a specific thing and then showcase what we do have. And that's very important.
I want to thank everyone for watching. We've been talking to Jonathan Seyferth about downtown Muskegon. And until next time, have a great day.